Hello, welcome to Last Bell Boxing. It's my absolute pleasure to welcome Natasha Jonas, Miss GB, to Last Bell Boxing for a little special chat. How you doing, Natasha?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
No, it's a pleasure to have you here. We've also got Carl, who's regular on the show. So, Natasha, just to let you know, this is quite a new platform where we started out a couple of lads into our boxing. We do a show on a Thursday evening live, just a general chat. People can come in, have a message, and talk about either the card that's been on the weekend before or a card that's coming up. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you for coming down.
And we normally talk, Natasha, about how you've been robbed, to be honest.
Yeah, we do. Yeah. We've had a couple of shows where we've talked about that fight against Harper. Shocking.
Wow. I'm only, I'll just say that.
A little bit, Natasha, though, if that's all right.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
So, I said what we'd like to do, Natasha, is pretty much go through your career, if that's okay.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, my little girl's just.
No bother.
Never wants me to come on a Zoom.
So obviously we're aware that you initially wanted to be a footballer, Natasha. So we've done our own work. So obviously you went out to America to pursue that career. What made you come into boxing? Was it always a thing of yours to launch that career?
No, to be honest, I've always watched boxing. It was kind of mine and my dad's thing. The running joke in our family is that I'm my dad's first son. We had season tickets for the Liverpool games. We had everything sporty. Me and my dad used to do together. So yeah, it's like football was the first love. I got injured when I was in America, and because I was in university, and because I didn't go there for the academic side of things, I went there to be a footballer. Yeah. I decided to come home, and when I came home, obviously because of my injury, I couldn't do any physical activity for a year, and it's probably the first time since I could walk that I'd never done some form of sport. I'd lost a big friendship group, not being involved in football anymore. I'd lost a lot of confidence. I'd gained a lot of weight, and I just started going to my uncle's gym just to, training by myself, just to get back into something. I didn't have the motivation to do anything. I was in and out of jobs, and I thought something in my life's got to change. And I was training by myself, and then a lady who used to bug the life out of me to go to the local club, which was the Rotunda, and stop training by myself. And I was thinking to myself, boxing, I don't really fancy getting punched in the face. It's not really my thing. And she just kept on bugging me to go. And she didn't even want me to box. She just didn't want me to train by myself. And in the end, I gave in, and I was like, okay, I'll go. And then the next time she asked me, I'll tell her that I didn't like it and I'm not going back. And then, yeah, that was 17 years ago, and I'm still here.
World-renowned Rotunda. What is it like walking in there?
You know what? Obviously, I was one of the only girls there for a very long time, and it was a bit mad that for me, being surrounded by loads of lads. I've always played footy. I've always been involved in the gyms, so that wasn't unusual for me. But for them, obviously, they've never had to deal with the interaction of a girl. And I remember going in. So I'd been going for a little bit just to the keep fit sessions, the women's only sessions. Right. And then my first ever coach, who was Sylvia Singleton, who was the woman who kept on bugging me to go, she was saying I think you're good enough to box if you want, but you'd have to come to the amateur sessions, which was in the evenings. And I was 21 at the time, so I wasn't really doing anything else. So I thought, yeah, go ahead, why not? I'm not really scared to try anything. I thought, why not? And on the first session, I walked in, and obviously, when I was a kid playing footy, I had two older boy cousins that I used to play footy with all the time, and I was probably better than them, but they'll never admit that. Yeah. And when you go somewhere new, or you're lining up to play, especially in them days, as the girl, you was always chose last. And when obviously we went to the session in the Rotunda, he was like, right, everybody partner up, and I thought, oh, it's going to be like the old footy days where no one wants to be partners with the girl. And straight away, Liam Smith went, go ahead, I'll be your partner. And because he was like someone successful in the gym, and he kind of just knocked that barrier down straight away. So I was like, it was quickly, it wasn't a thing to be my partner. So that was good.
That was going to be the next question. Were you accepted? Obviously, yes.
You know what? I have been so lucky. I know, of other females, as I've gone through my journey, where coaches have made it purposely hard so that they didn't come back, where people have been told at the door they don't accept females, even though every amateur club has to accept females, and just absolute nightmares of stories. But I was so fortunate that the Rotunda has always supported me, even when it was quite quickly apparent that, I don't want to say too good for domestic level because it was always competitive, but I had to be pushed and go to international club tournaments.
Right.
And they always funded me to go there and take a coach with me. So like I really the local media, as like the Liverpool Echo and the BBC, ITV, Granada, they've always been dead supportive. I don't think I've ever had any bad press. So I'm like fortunate to be one of the lucky ones.
You are a trailblazer, Natasha, aren't you, when it comes to female boxing? You really are. Your record speaks for itself. Just on a quick side note, Liam Smith got robbed on Friday. Could see it coming, if I'm honest. But he won that fight, in my opinion.
It was a clear win, and I think he went out there with, obviously he kind of knew he's not daft.
No.
But he went out there where he thought, if it's that convincing that I win, there's no way they could rob me. And for me, it was very convincing. So they still did it. But like, it doesn't make any things for Liam. But, before we as the British boxing board control start throwing fingers at anybody else, we need to So before we start like slagging other countries off, there's been a few decisions in our own country that, need looking at.
Oh, yes.
And I'm not just saying, not just mine either, but, there's others.
Yep. And
now I was just going to come in on the back of that and say it's almost impossible to get results in that part of the world, isn't it? You've got to knock someone out, and even then they probably give it to the opponent.
Yeah, it's like it's a slip.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's like, it's sad. It really is a sad state of affairs when you go in knowing that, half knowing that, and like that, things like that. Like it was an eliminator. The judges don't realise, or they don't have to. They're not accounted, like made to stand to account for changing people's lives. If I win the Terri Haper fight, I'm a world champion. I'm a WBC world champion. A 2-belt world champion. My pay changes. That changes my life. That changes my daughter's life. I probably would have got signed by Matchroom. I can't say I would have, but I could have. I could have went anywhere else and been signed by a promoter there. But they don't have to account for that, and that's the heartbreaking bit. Is that we go through these camps and we put our body through this, and and then there's just things that just are out of your control, and I literally can't control what a judge puts down on a piece of paper. But then, even when the whole world can see that it's the wrong choice, they're not made accountable for it. So, and why did you put that? Because that's what I thought. Oh, okay.
And it must be difficult motivation-wise. Motivation Liam Smith going into that fight knowing I've almost gone knock the guy out. Really. So it must be difficult in the build-up.
Yeah, I think with Liam just loves a scrap. Liam loves fighting. Like literally, Liam could be out of the gym for 6 months, and his first gym session will be a spar because he loves to fight. He always has done. Someone put something on social media the other day saying, I can't believe he was fighting on the Friday.
Yeah,
and now he's playing footy on Sunday. I said, yeah, he's playing the Rotunda sparring on Monday, because that's just how he is. He loves to fight.
You know what? You know what? That's quite poor, in my opinion, that got bumped to the Friday. That deserves to be on a platform that everybody in Britain can see. Because for me, and you probably agree with this, Natasha, for me, Liam's one of the best fighters we've got in the country.
Definitely, and he's you know, in his weight class in Britain, he's the number one
Without a
by
doubt.
a mile.
He's
By a
avoiding.
mile. There's no one that's close to him.
I agree. People avoid him.
And people say about I can remember someone said about maybe him going and fighting the likes of Cheeseman or whatever, and I didn't mean it disrespectful. It's saying he's kind of been at that level. He's past that, but he is.
Yeah,
You know, if they want to challenge Liam, they have to step up, not Liam go down.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's
much too good for that level.
Yeah, he's. Sorry.
He's very avoided as well. It must be really difficult. It must be really difficult for Matchroom to get fights for him at the level he needs to be at.
Yeah,
people don't want to take that fight, do they?
He's a lot of risk for he's a little reward really, because he hasn't got a title. People will take the risk if you've got a title, or whether it's an eliminator for a title or whatever. But other than that, people don't want to get in the ring with him, because why would you to maybe have a defeat?
I wouldn't.
So to go back to what you said before about the TV, right? I'm pretty sure that it was supposed to be the Saturday, and they changed it for the Friday to not clash with Canelo fight, and then they ended up buying the rights anyway. So I don't really know the inside out of that, but I think it was supposed to be.
Anyway, Natasha, back to you. We talked enough about Liam Smith. Let's go back to you. So obviously you had a great amateur career. We can't go through all the medals that you won. We'll be here all night. What do you consider?
No, we can, because she deserves it.
Yeah, I'm sure Natasha's got more things to do.
I couldn't even remember them as a card, to be honest. I know some of the big ones.
So what would you consider your greatest achievement?
Probably because I didn't get an Olympic medal. It was qualifying for the Olympics in the world. We went there. I think they told us before we went that we have to get to the quarters, which means we have to be top 8 in the world. And by that time, I kind of knew I was top 8. And then when we got there, they said, no, you have to come for Europe. You have to come top 3. And like, I had Sophia Rocha-Gaver, who was, pound for pound gone up. Katie Taylor, who was the number 1 amateur at the time, and there was loads of others like Ingrid Egner from Norway, and just loads of others. And I thought, Marcellia, France, and I was thinking, I don't know if I'm top 3 in Europe. And then obviously I went and qualified, and beat some great people along the way. So
yeah, like I said,
it must be a really big honour as well that, and it goes down in the record books. No one can ever take this away from you, that you're the first British female fighter to ever fight in the Olympics. Is that right?
Yeah. You know what? What's mad is that you don't even think about things like that when you're competing, because you're so focused on the result. It's only when I stepped away to have the baby and I'd retired from amateur boxing, when I look back and or I'd go to schools and I'd tell people my story, kids would be like, wow, mister, was you there? And I'd be like, you know what, that was something special. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But at the time, you're so focused on the result that doesn't even matter.
Is that where the nickname comes from then, I'm guessing?
So there was 2 nicknames at the start. There was going to be Mrs. T, and Miss GB came because it was like a running joke in the gym. When I first started at Joe's, that I used to come in all my GB kit, because I'd got a load of kit before I retired, and I hadn't ever used it because I retired. So when I came back to Joe's, I was there thinking I'm smart with all my Adidas GB kit. And everyone's like, oh, the LA is Miss GB again, always in the GB kit. I was like, oh.
what great marketing though. It's gold.
Oh, yeah. Gold. I know. I'm thinking about calling myself Miss Worldwide now, because I've seen my mate lives in China and he keeps on saying you keep on appearing on Chinese TV. I was like, okay.
Well, it's funny you should talk about TV. One interesting fact I did find was that you was on a reality TV with Tom Stalker and Jazza Dickens.
Oh yeah, not how Scousers.
Yeah, this one skipped me by. I'll be honest, I don't recall it.
Either.
No, so where do we find that, Natasha?
It was on Channel 5, I think. Channel 4 or Channel 5, and it was. I think you can find it now on YouTube. I'll send you it after.
Yeah, and you went.
You know what? That is another thing. You know, that documented like how all of us were in the GB team at the same time, and yeah, it was crazy. It documents like when we qualified, when we got told, going there, qualifying, and just the emotions of it. It was really good.
Yeah. Like, when I read it, I thought that's very different. You don't see many boxers doing that, do you?
I know they made me do the voiceover as well because
yeah, I've got that. Yeah.
Because Tom Stalker, they were saying people wouldn't be able to understand Tom, so they was gonna put subtitles at the bottom. I was like, you can't do that. So they said, well, you're gonna have to do the voiceover to like kind of explain the story so that if people can't understand Tom, that they'll still get it. So I had to do the voiceover. I ended up being the voiceover and everything. It was mad time.
And just touch on Matchroom Bubbles. What are they like to participate in? They must be very different.
The first one was for the fight camp was a bit better because we had an outside where we could go and play footy and whatever, you know, move about outside of your bedroom. But with this last one, it was like you're just in the hotel, and once you're in the hotel, you kind of just once you're in your room, you're in bed. They did have like a table tennis and a snooker thing.
You any good?
Sorry, pool. I'm actually good at pool. But I wasn't so good at table tennis. Joe beat me twice. But yeah, I mean, you know, the good thing about this last one was that there were so many characters. You know, obviously with Chisora, Parker, Eubanks, Roy Jones Jr. was there, Buddy McGirt was there. So there was a lot of like characters which made it fun.
Yeah, David A turned up quite late on as well, didn't he? You know.
Yeah.
So you're in a. You were saying there's no way you could go when you're in this hotel. Obviously, you know Katie Taylor anyway.
Yeah.
From the time that you fought in the Olympics. When you're bumping into her in these kind of scenarios, you're going into the dining hall or wherever, bumping into her in the corridors. What's that like, knowing that in a couple of days' time you're going to be fighting her?
Do you know what? I don't know. Women are a bit different to like the men thing. I was saying hello, and I was talking to her mum and everything. We've known each other a long time, so it is, but it's just business, isn't it? You get in the ring, it's different. When we're outside the ring, I think the respect is very mutual, and we are. I wouldn't say close where I'm going to phone and say, "What time are you going out tonight, Katie?" But like we are, I'd say pretty close.
So I've got a question for you. There's another couple of lads that do this show with us from the north, and we asked just before you come on. We asked them if they got any questions for you, and Ray, one of the lads, has asked, what's the differences between the two fights that you had with Katie Taylor? Obviously, apart from the fact that one was an amateur and one was pro, what did you take from the two fights that you might have thought were different in the two aspects?
I think for me, I get better as it goes on. So we start quite slow. So in the amateurs, when you've only got 4 rounds and you score enough points, you know, you could be 2 rounds in, but 10 points down. So, and you've got to get them back. And the more you open yourself up to try and get them back, the more you're susceptible to being hit. So I think in the amateurs, that's kind of what happened. I mean, hand speed's, pretty much the same. That's always been one of her biggest strengths.
Is she heavy-handed, Natasha?
She did catch me with one good shot, yeah. 7 and 8, I think that was.
Right.
But yeah, apart from that, I was okay. But I think it's more volume. It always has been. She just to get the point and get on a bike, or get the point and I'll point you. That's kind of what it was as an amateur. But as a pro, longer. What was that, sorry?
It suits her style.
Yeah, I think the amateur game suited it a little bit better. Yeah, but yeah,
there was a time
we're not the same boxers either. We're a lot older. We've been through different things, and our boxing IQs change. I think even now, there's every fight I'm learning something, and I'm not making excuses or anything, but I'm still relatively newish. Even here, I should only had 17, 18 fights. That's quite newish. Myself, I think I'm at 12.
Yeah, 12.
Yeah.
So that's still quite new. But yeah, from the Harper fight, I took, if that I ever got an opportunity like round 8 again, that'd never happen again. She'd never get away from me. And from this fight, I thought, right, she knew how to pinch around, even though I might have been doing the better work at the start. She was pinching around, and that's good. That's where her ring IQ came in, and thought, right, I wouldn't let her do that again. So that you've got to be learning every fight and developing and progressing.
Yeah. There was a time in that fight you just had. I thought you were going to knock her out.
Yeah.
She's got some chin. Because and I mean this is the biggest compliment to you. I've never seen Katie Taylor get hit so much clean.
Yeah, I think, like, again, I'm not being big-headed, but like one of my biggest assets is that I'm quite accurate, and I can punch. I know I can punch. Amateur as well, that doesn't really benefit you. You knock someone down in amateur, you just get a point. When you knock someone down in pros, it's a different thing. You're 10-8 automatically. Yeah. So that's where things like that benefit me. But it's, as I say, it was sometimes starting the round well and fading off, or letting her pinch it at the end. So yeah, that's just learning.
Well, we could all hear Joe Gallagher from off the TV. I know the ref went over and gave him a little bit of a talking to.
You've got to love Joe. Like,
that was funny. That was really funny.
Absolute, like, I couldn't believe in the press conference when he said about, she's the media darling, and people took it as a big disrespect. I was like, that's being quite complimentary. Yeah, I thought that was being quite complimentary. I don't know why people took it the wrong way. But yeah, Joe is like a mental genius, like, in the sense of, boxing, you can win fights outside of the ring.
Yeah, he loves the mind game, don't he?
He loves the mind game, and people fall into it and fall in his trap. And probably the one that bit the most was Steffi Bull. And people were saying, there's a lot of pressure on Jonas. If she doesn't win this fight, it's probably a career over. No one knows what will she do after that. And then Joe was like, Steffi, and started a thing between him, Steffi, and Terri. And all of a sudden, no one was asking me anything. It was all about Joe and Steffi and Terri.
Pressure was off you.
All the pressure was off me, and no one, like, people were like, "Oh, Joe's this, Joe's that." I was thinking, no, Joe's actually a genius, because now no one's talking about me, and no one's asking me questions, because they're all sent to Joe, Steffi, and Terri.
So Joe's record as a coach stands for itself. Yeah. We had a special on coaches not long back, and we were talking about a lot of coaches, and we didn't include Joe originally. And then we looked at his career and we were like, why have we not included him in this batch? A lot of people criticise Joe for the way he is on camera and the way he is when he does interviews, and when because he calls people out. He says it the way it is. And I don't think people like that. Do you think?
No.
Do you think a lot of people is unfair?
And you know what? What's worse is that when he does say something, a million people will inbox him and say, you're right there, but no one will ever put it up on their page and say you're right there, because no one wants to upset the apple cart. Joe will. If he thinks he's right and he thinks he's doing right by his fighters, he will. And people don't like that. I don't know why. Why would
let's have it right, Natasha. You don't mind calling Mr. Hearn out, do you, on here? That'd be
that's something I've called Joe, I think.
Let's have it right, and we'll talk about it now. So this first Terri Haper fight, every man and his dog knew you won that fight, apart from the 3 people that were scoring it. Are you disappointed? Disappointed that you didn't get the automatic rematch?
Yeah, I was massively disappointed. Like, the way he was talking at the end, I thought, I'm going to have this rematch in a month or two's time. And then they were like, no, we'll give you the deal. We'll have a 3-fight deal, and it'll be the last fight. I was like, well, that wasn't originally what was said. And they were like, yeah, we've got to do a mandatory. I was like, that's not what they said.
Yeah.
So she's obviously she was obviously due to have a unification fight, wasn't she? And she's damaged her hand in training in the last sparring session. Is there any chance that you could jump in here and take this fight instead of her?
Well, not for this Saturday.
No,
Not for this
obviously,
Saturday.
obviously, short notice, but you know, she's not going to be ready till at least end of the year, probably.
Yeah, that's what I would suspect. I'm no hand specialist, but that's what I suspect. And obviously, Troy's going to want to fight people. But I also seen a load of people had messaged me saying the same thing. Can you even make this Saturday? I was like, I definitely can't make this Saturday, but I'd definitely take it. And for some reason, she jumped on poor little Ellie Scottney.
I
was
noticed
like, oh, why you the Tasha's bum? I was like, hang on. I don't know whether that's frustration on her behalf or a little bit of immaturity, but
I thought that was a bit naughty, Sasha. I thought that was a bit of a naughty comment, wasn't it, on Twitter?
Yeah, I just thought it was unnecessary because everyone had said it, but it was only Ellie that she jumped on.
Yeah.
And it's the obvious thing to do. But that is super featherweight is my weight.
I was going to ask you because obviously you moved up for the Taylor fight, but do you see super feather as your best weight?
Yeah, I mean, when I say my best weight, I will fight at any weight. I'll fight at 130, 135, 140, and if they said, do you want a chance at McCaskill for all the belts, I'd say yeah at 147. Why would I say no? It doesn't make sense. I'm not a young Ellie Scottney or Ramla Ali or Terri Haper, or I haven't got time on my side. If I can get these belts in one fight, I'll get them and move on.
Yeah. Right, we're going to get wrapping it up. We're coming up to half an hour, Natasha, and really do appreciate your time.
No,
so,
okay.
Moving forward, then, what's the plan?
Anyone and anyone.
From
130 to 140, anyone, and 147 if it's McCaskill.
So, have you got a certain fight deal with Matchroom or anything like that at the moment? What have you got? What's the deal with you there?
I think I've got one fight.
One fight left.
Yeah, one fight left, and
has Mr. Hearn give you any sort of idea who that might be? Have you had any names thrown at you?
No, not yet. But we are in talks with them, trying to make a plan for obviously putting me in whatever situation to be able to fight somebody.
When do you think you'll be out next?
You've had two really close world title fights. And I had you level going into those last two rounds against Katie Taylor, by the way.
Oh, don't remind me.
No, so really close, and surely you don't want to be dropping back down to fighting anyone below that level now.
Oh, I've said that because the thing with me, when people tell me that I can't, it's like a big, massive drive and a motivation, and to do better, and people like for Harper, I knew I had to be at a good level, and then when obviously that happened, and Taylor, like, no disrespect to Harper, but Taylor is way above and beyond Harper, and I don't think she goes anywhere near Taylor for a good while. So when I got the opportunity to do that, I was like, okay, I was okay for Harper. Now I need to be really good, because there's levels to this game, and Katie's at the top of it. So I knew I had to be Harper and a lot better. And obviously, well, I believe that I showed that. So what's the point? Sometimes when you like we're saying with Liam Smith before, if you go back down, it's hard to motivate yourself when you're like going down a level, or even you can get dragged into that level when you can box above and beyond that. So I don't want to do that. And motivation wise for me, I've been saying, I'm in a good place mentally and physically and emotionally, and I was. So I don't want to bring that down. I want to keep that high going, because I still believe that I've got better performances in me.
So when do you think you'll be out next, then, Natasha? Roughly.
Do you know what? I would have loved to be out this weekend, but obviously not. I don't know. I don't know when the dates are. When dates? Hopefully, July at some point. July, August. The start of end of summer, kind of.
Yep, 2 more fights this year, maybe one back end of the year as well.
Listen, that's the dream. I've had 10 months out for the Harper fight and 10 months out for this Taylor fight. So, you know, to be active and box regular, I think will only add to my game. So I'd love to be out 2, 3, 4, 5 times this year, but we'll see.
Yep.
Are you a fighter? Are you a fighter that feeds off the crowd, or do you just completely block it out when you're in there?
I think sometimes it's hard to block out in the sense of there'll always be you do feed on an atmosphere, even if that's just on your ring walk. Because to be honest, as soon as the bell goes, I don't hear anyone bar Joe. But then you know, at GB, we've been in tournament. I've been in the Olympics where there's 10,000 people in the XL screaming and getting the loud crowd participation noise. But then I've also been in Russia in the middle of winter in January, and there's been me and the Russian team and a couple of Ukrainians, and that's it. The only people that were there were the people that was participating. So for me, to be honest, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah.
Do you think it can make a difference to judging?
Oh yeah, I think if the Harper fight was in front of judges, then I'd have won.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, Joe Gallagher called out Eddie Hearn with Fight Camp, didn't he? Saying that the commentary booth was too close. Yeah. You could almost hear what was being said in the commentary booth. Not like Joe to make a statement, but
well, I think Sam Edgerton had been sparring Liam Smith. So when he was talking, Liam had phoned him after the fight and said how do you feel it went? You're gonna get the rematch, whatever. And Sam had said, I think the judges were influenced by what they could hear. So it was actually them that had said it.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. We had Sam winning that fight as well.
Yep.
Yeah, so, and it does, people, that's why, Joe screamed, "Hey!" and Steffi Bull saying, "Beautiful," because it does.
Yeah.
And that's what happens in amateur. If everyone claps or, makes noise, then the judges are bound to press.
Well, me and Andy often argue about this, and we all argued about the weekend fight with Billy Joe. You've got a big Mexican contingent there. Canelo's throwing all the shots and it's hitting Billy Joe's pads, gloves. They're going mad in the crowd. It influences, doesn't it?
Yeah. And sometimes as well, the judges don't make it easy for themselves because, like, prime example, when I fought Terri Haper, they were like, yeah, some of the rounds were close, but Terri won it on her work rate. So then I was like, okay, that's how you're judging it. So then it goes to Taylor Pursoon, and they're like, no, Katie's throwing the more accurate power punches. Yeah. Okay, so then Katie wins. So then it comes to me and Katie. No, she's her work rate up. So like, I'm thinking, like, what do you want?
Yeah.
What do you want? Like let's have a standard kind of thing of what what are you looking for, and let us know. Because then, I mean, I'm not going to change my style, but I will adapt in some way if I think that it's going to affect how the judges score it. So, yeah. But you can't change what you like depending on who's in the ring, and that's what I think sometimes people do. Like if it's Canelo throwing a big power shot, Canelo wins, but then he can also win off being on the back foot against Triple G and slipping and rolling punches. Then how does that work?
Yeah.
Which one do you like?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's frustrating. I mean, I can't imagine how frustrating it must be for you when you've put all that effort in. But just for us as fans sitting at home in an armchair, it's, seeing a fight. We've got a little bit of a WhatsApp group going, and anytime there's a big event on, we'll sit there and we'll message each other. Well, that person won that round, and we're scoring it as we're going along. And when it comes to scoring at the end, you're like, what? What are they looking at? Where did they?
I had Billy Joe 4-4, and I wouldn't have argued if someone would have said 5-3. I would not argue before, but I had 4-4. And but then
those three judges, did one of them had it 6-2 and one of them had it 7-1, I think.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And
it's like scoring.
And the one thing about Harper is that I just brushed it on. It was what it was. I can't change it. If it would have kicked up and whatever, moan, cried, doesn't matter because it's not going to change, and that's the sad thing about it. It's just not going to change. You
need the opportunity to put it right, though, don't you?
Yeah, 1,000,000%. Listen, I don't think there's a person on the planet who doesn't believe that I want the Harper rematch. And I genuinely don't think that she doesn't. I just think her team is taking her a different path on purpose.
Well, she's a fighter, isn't she? She's you know, and if there's any doubt over that result, she's gonna want to prove the point, isn't she? Once and for all.
I genuinely believe that she does, but I just think her team is
saying, hold on a minute, let's
unify, let's do this, let's do that, let's do the Mandashi, without actually saying, well, actually, we don't want Tasha quite yet.
We don't want no part of that. That's what they really mean.
Don't want this smoke.
Yeah. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, Natasha, because we've taken enough of your time up. Really thank you a lot for coming on. Really appreciate it.
It's been an absolute pleasure, and we invite you back on whenever you like.
Yeah, when I've got a belt.
When you've got a belt, yeah, you're more than welcome. But like, one more time, cheers, Natasha.
It will happen, Natasha. I've got absolute confidence.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And good luck with everything moving forward.
Nice one. Thank you a lot. Thanks for promoting us positively as well. Thank you.
We'll continue to do that as well. Cheers.
Thanks.
Take care.
Cheers.